Hello YouTubers, this is Goldstandard00924 coming at you with another video. This is actually going to be a spring vlog edition for you guys today. So I haven't really done vlogs for the past few months. I think the last time I did it was around Christmas season. And, enough time has passed, so I figure why not do another vlog edition once again. Now, especially now that spring's around. It's a really weird weather in terms of the climate out there. Like, it's hot, it's cold, at least in the area where I live. But at least it's a little more warmer than what it was a couple months ago. So now that winter's out of the way, yeah. So this is just gonna be a little special spring vlog for you guys today. So I'm just gonna be talking about a lot of different topics, not just pertaining to one. So in this video, expect some brief DVD updating, my thoughts on Fuller House, and maybe other retro shows I'd like or are against seeing getting rebooted or a sequel to follow it up. And also including wrestling topics such as the WWE Extreme Rules 2015 and and just basically the Wrestling and Reimagining series, which I'm have a lot of plans on doing throughout the course of the other months to come. So yeah, this is basically going to be my vlog, and just kick back, keep this audio playing, and without further ado, let's get started. So to kind of kick things off, I just figured why not show off my DVDs that I purchased in recent weeks. I only bought two, as a matter of fact. I mean, I could have bought more, but I'm not that in a hurry to get a chunk load of DVDs or Blu-rays. But I don't have Blu-rays, but DVDs I do have. And one of the first videos that I collected was at Walmart. It was like worth $5, so it's pretty cheap. But it was one of my favorite movies. I wanted to say childhood, but I didn't like. This was before my time, but I managed to watch this on TV a couple times, and I really like this movie. It's a timeless classic, and this movie here is Ferris Bueller. Yeah, this is actually the re-release, as you can see from the top of the DVD cover. So yeah, so this, like I said, this is a very favorite movie of mine. John Hughes directed this, and he directed a lot of other movies which I liked, such as the Home Alone movies and the Wayne's Worlds. The Little Rascals, I actually sort of liked the 1994 version of it. The Breakfast Club as well. So Ferris Bueller, definitely a movie that I enjoyed as well. Matthew Broderick in his prime, and I watched this so many times. It's just hilarious, and you can notice this is actually wrapped, so I haven't really taken the time to watch it and watch some of the special features that are on this re-release. So maybe if I have the time somewhere down the road when I have the leisure. Hopefully I get a chance to watch this movie again. Just one of my favorite movies. Watching this on like a Comedy Central, or I remember ABC Family, I think, showed it a couple years back. But other movie channels, especially a lot of the teen-oriented stations. Definitely a movie that I really personally enjoyed. So that's Ferris Bueller at that. And the next one is not movie related, but it's actually a TV show that's still currently running today. I think it's in its fourth season, and and I believe it's already ordered for a fifth season. So I didn't catch this show until midway in the second season, and even though I've been following it up for quite some time, I'm just still kind of a little lost in terms of the storylines. Only watched these episodes like once and only once, so definitely one of those shows where you have to rewatch over and over again, so to kind of get a better understanding. And this show that I have here is the complete first season of Once Upon a Time. So yeah, I never really got to see the first season, so I figured just check it out. And I only watched 8 episodes so far, so I'm just trying to get through the whole season as I can, and maybe do an in-depth review of it down the line, and maybe some my thoughts on the special features if I get across to it. Um, yeah, so I definitely like some of the fairy tale elements. It's created by the same people that did Lost, so that has some input to that. And because this is on ABC, which is owned by the Disney Channel, or by the Disney Company, excuse me. Yeah, so they pretty much embraced a lot of the fairy tale fantasy aspects of the show, which plays a big part in it. You'll probably see some Disney characters like the Cinderellas and the Tinkerbells and the Pinocchios. The list goes on. Now, not necessarily every fairy tale character is in this season, but this is just an example of just the show in general. Yeah, so like I said, I haven't watched the whole season just yet. Just got I just finished only 8 episodes, and hopefully I do an in-depth review. So hopefully, if when I get the chance, I'll just talk about it a little more. So that's pretty much Once Upon a Time there. Also, originally I was hoping to find like the earlier seasons of Supernatural, but I couldn't find it. Just like the first season or so, so I could just basically find some additional features for that show. But unfortunately, I couldn't really find a first season Supernatural in my nearby local Walmart or other retail store. So I was hoping to get that show. I was thinking also getting Arrow as well, but the first season was a little too pricey. I think it was like $30 or so. But Once Upon a Time, which I got instead, was about about $20 near about in that range. So yeah, so I figured that was taking the cheap way out. But so yeah, that's really my DVD collection. I probably could have gotten more, but this is just kind of a slow start of me collecting movies or TV shows in general. So expect some of that in the next several months to come. So anytime I'll probably do a vlog, but not a whole lot of DVD updating. But this is just kind of a little taste of that. So there you have it. That. And the next topic I want to really discuss is it's actually a pretty big news so far this month. And basically, John Stamos was on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and apparently they're gonna actually bring back Full House as a sequel entitled Fuller House. And like you saw with the news when Boy Meets World was gonna have its own sequel on the Disney Channel, which would turn out to be Girl Meets World. It's going to be sort of like that, except unlike Girl Meets World, which is airing on Disney Channel, Fuller House is actually going to be on a internet streaming service with Netflix. So apparently they ordered 13 episodes. So production hasn't started yet since it's been announced. And a lot of people thought at the time that this was going to be an April Fool's Day joke, but turns out that it was actually not. Yeah, so the Fuller House thing, it's just, I'm really kind of interested to see how it plays out, but, I mean, it's like many other TV shows that get rebooted or revived in some shape or form, like I mentioned with the Girl Meets World stuff, and even a couple years back when they revived Beverly Hills 90210 on the CW, with a new generation of kids. So it seems to be no different from that, especially now that the 90s nostalgia is at its fullest. And, with Fuller House, it's kind of questionable to see the target audience and the overall tone of the show. Now, granted, it's obviously going to be a sitcom like the original Full House, but just a matter of who the target audience is. Because back in the day when Full House was on ABC, it was part of a family-friendly Friday night block called TGIF. And with Fuller House, especially with a lot of the people that grew up watching the show and probably are now in their 20s or 30s, at least just estimating the general uh, demographic that is. But I mean, they could also cater in some of the new generation of fans, that grew up watching the reruns and stuff. So it's kind of interesting whether or not just to see where the show would be. It could be a good thing, or it could be kind of lukewarm, like in terms of like mediocrity and disappointment, and maybe fans may not buy into this new generation series. And with Fuller House, they're obviously going to focus on DJ as the widowed wife, the widowed wife, and her husband was killed untimely in an untimely death. Somewhat similar to her father Danny, where his wife was killed in a car accident. So they kind of did a little bit of 180 there, I guess. So I don't really see if it's going to be any different from the original, especially from the premise. I'm probably going to post a link down in the description box just to see with the article. Probably might post a couple more, but this is going to be the. There was like one article that I had on here. I'm just going to post it down in the description box, like I said. Now there are speculations whether there are some cast members returning and some of them aren't. I think that like Lori Loughlin, I think she discussed about it, and she may or may not be a regular character, but she might just appear as a guest star. So I mean, there's some speculation of that. The Olsen twins, it's been kind of so because they haven't really been. They just found out in recent weeks, and they may not be also returning as a full-time character, as Michelle. So I don't know how this is going to play out. John Stamos is going to be the executive producer, so he's going to have a pretty big part in the making of Fuller House. I'm not really sure how that's going to pan out. I mean, does DJ get with Steve? Did DJ and Steve broke up, and then DJ married someone else? And then, and her other husband ended up dying the same way that DJ's mother died in the original show. I mean, there's just a lot of questions kind of going through this developmental process, and the show hasn't even reached production just yet, so it's in pre-production, and I think they're going to change some of the cast members of that played Nikki and Alex. So I don't know. It's just going to be oh boy. So Fuller House overall, I'm quite skeptic to see how it goes. It could be like Girl Meets World, where it's a little more well received, a little more the characters getting a little more respect. I haven't really watched a lot of Girl Meets World lately. I think the last episode I watched was the one where Ryder Strong came back, with Sean, and his connection with I forgot her name, but it was Sabrina Carpenter's character. But yeah, so hopefully I get a chance to watch Girl Meets World going to season 2. Also, with Will Friedle coming back, and even Mr. Feeney. We all thought that Mr. Feeney might have passed away prior to Girl Meets World and after Boy Meets World ended. So I'm glad that it turns out that Mr. Feeney's actually, that he's still, alive and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's really my thoughts on Fuller House. Yeah, so that's really all I have to say about that. And now I want to really get into more wrestling related topics. WWE Extreme Rules 2015. So the build-up going into it is not necessarily bad, but could be a lot better. But I'll say that the build-up is at least better than WrestleMania 31's. But it's really one of those rocky periods for WWE. It's like, WrestleMania season is normally the time where WWE puts forth the effort needed to put on a better show. But after WrestleMania, when we get to like the early summer, things just kind of go south. And it's Extreme Rules. It's like I looked at the card. It probably could be pretty interesting. I think some of the matches might deliver. Um, it's just one of those Extreme Rules where you just kind of. It could be a lot better, like I said. So, the main event with Randy Orton and Seth Rollins in the cage for the World Heavyweight title. I definitely think that it could be a great match. I actually watched their WrestleMania 31 match on here before I think got taken down, and they actually pull out all the stops to that match, and Orton doing that RKO counter, and like Seth Rollins just does try leaping up for that curve stunt, and then Orton caught him with the RKO. So yeah, that was actually really cool stuff. So I think Orton Rollins in the cage would be just as good, if not better. But we'll just have to wait and see on that. Yeah, I think Seth Rollins is obviously going to retain here. I mean, he just won the belt. And, it's really a shame they won't let him do the curb stomp for some reason. I mean, now, if you've read some of the dirt sheets, but it's kind of ironic because, in the storyline, they have Orton being banned from doing the RKO. And it's kind of different because his finisher being banned is kind of more like a storyline perspective, whereas Seth Rollins banning the curb stomp is actually a real life circumstance. But yeah, it's just kind of weird, very weird how things all played out at the same time. Yeah, there's some kind of slight tease of dissension between Kane and Seth Rollins, so. I think maybe Seth Rollins is going to retain the title. Maybe Kane tries to help Orton, but somewhat backfires. But despite that, Seth would retain the title, and then Kane gets kicked out of the Authority, and then they start their program for Payback. So I still think Orton and Rollins could pull off a pretty good cage match. Now the only downside of that is probably there wouldn't be now any blood, given the recent environment for WWE, trying to maintain a family-friendly image. So yeah, you don't really see a whole lot of wrestlers bleeding as much like that you used to. Yeah, so I think that might be the downside to that cage match, but overall, I still think it'd be all right. So that's the main event. Let's see. Dean Ambrose and Luke Harper in a Chicago street fight should be pretty good. They didn't really give a whole lot of build up to any of the two wrestlers, so I mean, I think they just started brawling. This is supposed to be kind of like a continuation from their ladder match at WrestleMania, where both guys were involved. So this is kind of like more of an extension, but just very little story as to why this match is taking place. So, but I think regardless, I think they're gonna pull off a pretty good match. And hopefully Ambrose finally gets a victory on pay-per-view. I mean, it's very a shame that, ever since the Shield broke up this past June, that Ambrose could hardly get any victories. But even despite that, this guy just manages to get very over with the crowd. And I do think his momentum is kind of went on a downside since then. So I can't really see Harper pulling off a victory. So hopefully Ambrose finally breaks that pay-per-view losing streak. So I really hope that there are opportunities for Dean Ambrose to grow as a character and eventually go on and win championship titles along the way. So yeah, I think it should be a pretty good match. Let's see, John Cena Rusev in a Russian chain match for the U.S. title. Yeah, basically this is the third match in their series. We all know Cena won the U.S. title at Mania. Yeah, so I think Rusev, it could go either way. Rusev's wanting to get his revenge, obviously, and I think they were kind of teasing dissension between him and Lana, which explains why Lana hasn't appeared alongside Rusev as much lately. So maybe it wouldn't surprise me if Cena ended up retaining the title, and then Lana just finds a way to cost Rusev the title or Rusev the match, and just basically parting ways. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I really like what they're doing with Cena with that open challenge for the U.S. title. It just kind of makes the championship belt stand out from other titles because most of the time they're defended on pay-per-view. But Cena actually defends the belt like it's like what WCW was with the television title. So I think the U.S. Open Challenge concept is actually quite interesting. It sort of reminds me of the Kurt Angle Gold Medal Challenge, but this is actually for a championship belt and not a other achievement that Kurt Angle won that doesn't involve a title belt. But yeah, so I think Cena's U.S. title run has actually made the belt at least a little more relevant again. I mean, as long as it keeps Cena out of the main event, I mean, we're all cool. And this is a great opportunity for Cena to actually fight against some of the younger guys. I think could be the first step in that. You have to go through the gate. Yeah, so I think Cena's going to retain the U.S. title, and I think it could be an okay chain match. I mean, it's basically a strap match where you have to touch all four corners to win the match, basically. So no pinfalls or submissions. So just have your body touch all four corners of the ring, and you win the match. So my prediction is probably Cena to retain the title. What else? I think they had like the Nikki Bella and Naomi match for the Divas title. And it's actually really weird in recent weeks because they turned Naomi heel after she lost. I think she lost the battle. I thought Paige won that Battle Royal in the London show, and then like Naomi just snapped. But I think Paige got injured, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. So they have Naomi come in and be the challenger by default. And I don't know if they turned the Bella's face, so there's like some kind of weird double turn of sorts. I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't care for the Bellas. Naomi, I mean, I'm not a fan of hers necessarily, but she's been catching on with the general audience. So, I think the Usos, one half of the Usos got injured, so Naomi's kind of on her own, and I think one of the Usos are also kind of in limbo as of late. I don't have a prediction, but I'm just I don't know. So that's pretty much the Divas match that's going to be on that pay-per-view. Daniel Bryan and Bad News Barrett for the IC title is actually scheduled. Now there's some speculation that Bryan may not be able to compete because of some of the neck issues that he's had in recent months, and there's a lot of just a lot of speculation going around, and if Bryan is unable to compete, then I guess they're gonna cancel the match or they're gonna replace it, or even if they still keep the match, I think they're gonna have Barrett regain the IC title from Bryan. Which would be kind of disappointing, just given the circumstance. It's just, I mean, when Bryan came back, everyone wanted him, or not everyone, but just a good majority of people wanted to see Bryan win the Rumble and win the WWE World title that he never truly lost. But I think as the months have gone by, I think we have a pretty good reason as to why Bryan hasn't been in the top main event picture as of late. And, I mean, this could be, I hate to say it, but this could be Bryan's retirement, He might hang it up, but maybe, hopefully he fights off out of this. But if things just turn out to get a lot worse, then I think I hate to say it, but this might be it for Bryan. And with Bad News Barrett, I mean, his character had been, I don't know what I'm trying to describe here. I just really think that he has a lot of potential, but especially as a character. But yeah, it's just weird how they're just having him, win the IC title, and then he keeps jobbing all the time. I mean, but I don't know. I would think if this match is taking place, I think it's gonna be a really enjoyable match. You know, Barrett, having a long time passion for wrestling, and I just think that he could. I just think both guys could really tear the house down if Brian is at his full capacity, his full health. But I don't know. So if I had to pick, I want to say Brian to win this. I would want Brian to win this, but I probably have to go with Barrett, just judging by the kind of like the emotions that are going into this match. So there you have it. That. I don't know. I think that's about it. I probably. Oh yeah, Roman Reigns and the Big Show, last man standing match. This is the culmination of their numerous gazillion series of matches they've had on Raw and SmackDown. It's like, man, it's like they can't seem to have Roman Reigns fight anyone else that isn't the Authority, which is just bizarre in a way. I mean, unless you're Big Show or you're Kane or you're J&J Security, it's like, man, it's like I think Reigns really needs to find someone else to feud with, because this whole Big Show stuff is just getting very tedious, and they're just, it's like they don't really have any other guys to feud with, and I don't know, and because I think Extreme Rules is in somewhere in Chicago, so, or at least nearby Chicago, because I think they're supposed to be in Rosemont, and it wouldn't surprise me if the crowd just boos both guys. I mean, they've been booing Roman Reigns a lot since he came back, and now it's just this whole just this whole story going into this. I mean, if there is a storyline to it, it wouldn't surprise me if the crowd just eats up the match. But I think Roman Reigns is obviously going to win this match, hopefully. But I just really feel bad for Roman as of late. I mean, I do agree that he probably needs a lot of work in terms of his character, and more guys to feud with before going after world title. So so it's going to be really difficult for Reigns at this rate. So Reigns, I think he'll win this last man standing match. So there you have it with Extreme Rules. Hopefully that's all the match card there is. I think there's a tag team title match on the pre-show, but just sad to see the tag division at this rate. Given the some of the other tag teams that they brought in, like the Lucha Dragons, for instance. So I think they have potential to be like a top tag team on there if booked right. But oh well, it's just a shame they put tag title matches on pre-shows. But that's WWE for you. So with Extreme Rules aside, let's see. Wrestling Reimagining series. I'm probably going to be continuing that. I'll probably be maybe discussing about Roman Reigns' post-Shield breakup. Maybe other ways I would have tweaked Roman Reigns' push after they broke up back in June. And maybe WCW 1998. Maybe do a rebooking fantasy series. Not a bad year in reality, but I think it was a slow sign of things to come for WCW, just crashing down, just weird stuff that was going on during that time. Although there was also other good things to come to counteract it, so it's kind of half and half in terms of WCW '98. So there's no denying just how much talent that they had at the time, but there's also a strong argument to make that there weren't really enough stars to be made, and you hear that a lot from WWE documentaries and stuff. But I know it's a lot of this like bias, but I think some of it is valid to a degree. But hopefully, maybe when I get the chance to do rebooking fantasy series. So maybe stick around for that. I can't guarantee that I'll probably start off right off the bat, but just some other ideas, future videos to consider. So I think that is about it for this vlog, and we're pretty much about the 30-minute mark. So thank you all guys for watching. Let me know what you think as far as your thoughts on Fuller House, your thoughts on the Extreme Rules Buildup. Maybe I think that, yeah, that's really about it. So I don't know what else I wanted to say, but yeah. Till then, this is the Goldstandard00924's signing out.